Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
feels really weird. Weird. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting, December the 7th, 2021. And we have present, if you just want to introduce yourselves, please, Bev, start away.
Bev Tappan.
Nina Braun.
Adam Dunville.
Chana Palmer is chair, and hopefully we'll have Kristen joining us virtually, and when she comes on, I'll make a note of her being on. And Chris Zimon was meant to be remote. I don't know if he's able to. Dave Sharples is unfortunately unable to attend. He's on a leave of absence for a couple of months, so he may not be at this meeting and the next one. So just wish him well while he's away. And Jackie has another commitment, so she won't be joining us today. So, all right. With that, do you have any public comments, anyone? And we have a couple of people in. We'll come to the agenda item anyway, so we'll do that. Did you want to make a comment or anything? No. Okay. All right. So we had the approve the minutes from our November the 2nd meeting. Any comments, changes, amendments to that?
Nope. Move to adopt.
Can I have a second?
Second. Oh, well.
Thank you.
You want me to take notes?
Can you do that
Yeah, of
before
course.
Christian gets up?
No
Oh, Christian's here. Christian, welcome. Can you hear me? All right. Can you just want to unmute yourself and just say that you're joining us virtually?
Hello, this is Kristen. I'm joining you virtually.
There she is.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, the Coastal Resilience Grant update. So just a brief recap, the town received a grant, and I think the grant was coming to its end at the end of June, and a report was due for that to the organisation that provided the grant, and also I think we worked on a survey that did go out, and I have Tim Roach, who's the ED of the Rock Huron Planning Commission. So did you want to speak to that, and then just tell us, just give an update so that so we're transparent and we know where the situation is and how we can move forward? Be appreciated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I was looking forward to the opportunity to talk about this a little bit. I guess I'm not going to try to Monday morning quarterback this grant at this point. I will say, it didn't work out as well as I would have hoped. And as the director of the organization, I'll own that, and we're going to work on getting you something that can help make that right. The pieces that were laid out in the grant are there. I know Dave worked very hard on it as well. Dave Sharples, that is. So the pieces are there. They haven't been compiled into a formal, complete report for this grant. And I think, as you know, we had a significant staffing change as things were coming to an end for this grant, and I think a lot happened over the last 18 months for people in various circumstances related to COVID that made this even more difficult to execute than it probably should have. So what I wanted to do was see what we could take either from this or work with you as a group to let's move the needle. Is what I want to do on sustainability for Exeter. What I can do at this point is probably commit 40 to 80 hours of staff time to give you somebody for technical assistance in either salvaging what we can out of the components of this grant, or taking a piece of it, or moving a project forward that you want to move forward. I have some sources of money that we can use right now, and I can access some others as well. So that's what I'd like to do, and I was hoping we could have at least a short discussion about what you'd like to do and where you see some value, and I can give you a professional planner for somewhere in that range of time to help you move that forward. And if you could, we can discuss that if you'd like. And the only other comment I'd like to make, if I could just take a minute, is when I think about sustainability in a community and resilience planning, we serve 27 communities. Those 27 communities don't need a sustainability office. Each one of them don't. I think it'd be a really good regional position, a really good regional fit. We're working with the New Hampshire DES Coastal Program right now to develop a framework for a regional position where I could have that planner, the person that I'd like to bring forward to you, essentially almost like circuit ride their way around in the communities that are interested in this type of work and this type of initiative. So having somebody at the regional level that you could call on, or Greenland or Stratham, or all the way over to Salem could call on for assistance, is what I'd like to do. And like I said, we're working on how to frame that now and then seek out a way to fund it on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think, thank you for that, Tim. I think we did, this committee was formed on the back of getting to a point where the town would have a sustainability coordinator. And so we did explore that it would be, again, a viable option for sort of in terms of salary for that person to sort of work with other towns as well, neighbouring towns, and then work, and then so you're not always reinventing the wheel, that you are actually going to be doing something that helps communities, and we have different communities that use the same schools and so on. So, be more collaboration on that. So I think that was something that was discussed at the time. And I know, is this common knowledge about Kristen's position in terms of Dave's request for a full-time role?
So, yeah, what was done probably about 2 years ago was, where there wasn't money in the budget for a full-time or even a part-time, we looked at what the town planner was already doing, and he was already doing a lot of those things. So the select board voted to approve a stipend for him, and he assumed some of those responsibilities with the hope and the idea that, as things progressed, we would be looking towards bringing somebody on. We have a natural resource officer, Kristen Murphy, who'd been working part-time for the town and came to the town and expressed an interest for full-time. And we explored the possibility of utilizing those full-time hours, those additional hours, to serve as a sustainability coordinator liaison for this committee, but also for the Energy Committee. So that is public knowledge in that it's been put in the proposed budget. The Budget Recommendations Committee unanimously voted to recommend it. It's come before the Select Board, will deliberate, and then obviously the budget has to go through town meeting. But I anticipate that would pass, and really look forward to Kristen assuming those responsibilities early next year once the budget passes. That's where that's at.
That's great news. I mean, the reality of it is even if I had one person with 27 communities, I may not be able to do.
Yeah,
it's a lot of communities.
Yeah, right.
Person.
And I don't expect 27 communities to be interested in sustainability and resilience like you all are, but either way, the coastal communities in particular, dealing with sea level rise, I could keep a person busy up and down the coastal communities for sure. But I think the idea that pooling resources, if this doesn't go through and you find yourself in a position where you need to, if you'd be willing to be part of a coalition of willing communities, that's how we might end up funding at least part of this position. So.
Right.
But anyway, I want to move, like I said, I'd like to move forward with you on something that you see as some of your priorities, and see if we can help you out and take advantage of some of the work that was done in this grant. Yeah.
Do you know, I think one of my questions is in terms of, are you still looking to produce a report that will be submitted? And also the survey that was sent out, the results of that, are they likely to be made public or shared?
They're yours, yeah, absolutely. And they just need to be, they're compiled. I actually have one copy of it here. okay? So I can get this information to you, and you have, I think, most of the pieces that Dave worked on
Yeah.
with my staff. I think you have, and then it's just a matter of just deciding how we can compile those into something useful. But I can get you all the deliverables as they are. We can, potentially work with you to sort of clean things up a little bit if you want to try to close it out that way. That's one way we could do it. Otherwise, like I said, I would also be interested in looking forward with you to see where you want to go with some of the initiatives, either that were outlined in the situation and needs assessment from this grant, or just other initiatives that you have in mind.
Okay.
I have a question for you. I attended most of the meetings of I guess it was called the CAPE group from the University of New Hampshire, who gave us a picture and a prediction of how high the water would rise here, which was up to PEA campus. And then since then, I never hear it mentioned. I mean, it's like, what is going to be done about this, in my mind, and how does it relate to this group that you're sponsoring? Something needs to go forward because things are happening faster than was anticipated then. I don't know whether that was 8-10 years ago, what that was, but it was a while back. We had one flood here that I remember, isolated Riverwoods, except 111 was blocked off in both directions. Powder Mill was blocked off, and the only way anyone could get to us was by pickpocket. Right. So we had a real sense of what it was like if a serious flooding occurred, and that lasted for about 4 days. So
yeah, we're continuously working on that particular topic, especially sea level rise, coastal flooding.
Well, that's imminent.
In various communities right now, we're working on a project that is looking at the impacts of the transportation infrastructure. It's focused on Route 1A as the primary route. As you can imagine, the beaches are where you're going to have the first and greatest impact. But looking at what will happen to the transportation, how we're going to get people moved around, our community is going to be isolated, and trying to get that into the planning process so that future projects through either the New Hampshire DOT or communities can get in the pipeline and get in place to help mitigate some of the potential impacts as we look forward. We're also working with DES on it's a hydrodynamic flood model. Right now, all the information you've seen is as if the ocean rises like a bathtub and then goes out, like in and out. High tide comes up and it goes out, and as you know, that's not exactly what happens. We have a lot of current, a lot of wave action, and everything else that would, even right down in here into the river, there'd be a lot of current and moving. And that's going to have more impact on the infrastructure than just a gentle rising floodwater and a gently receding floodwater. So we're working on those pieces as well. But it's a long-standing problem that's not going to go away, and we're trying to get the word out and make sure that communities are preparing now for what could be a very different future.
You would think it would affect planning and zoning, looking at flood potential and then what people are planning to do. There has to be, you would think, some consideration. I don't know, either block it off or raise things up, or, something has to happen to deal with it.
Absolutely. We'll be working in Hampton. It's a little different in places like Hampton, but we're working with them to develop a program to help elevate homes that are already impacted by flooding on a regular basis. So it hasn't been forgotten, I guess, to answer your question.
Thank you.
And do you have any comments, Nina?
No comments.
Kristen, do you have any comments on this?
Not necessarily on this part, but I was curious about getting back to the grant and what we could do to wrap it up in a succinct way. If there is any thoughts on, when you said you could give 40 to 80 hours of your people's time, did you have any thoughts on how that would be best directed?
Well, that's what I was sort of putting out there for you all as to where you wanted to focus is, if the wrapping up the grant is more of a priority than moving something else forward, that's fine. I could put somebody on this to help package it up. DES isn't expecting anything more than what's been done at this point, and they were the grantor. So we could do that if that's your preference. Or like I said, I'm leaving as an open sort of invitation to sort of work with us and take advantage of a professional planner's time for, just to give you a little bit more staffing, especially, with Dave's leave of absence, maybe there's an opportunity there to, keep things moving for you.
So I wonder if you could share the info that what you have at the moment with regards to the survey and the rough draft of the report, and then we can then decide how we want it wrapped up, where we want to use the situation and close this up, because I think it's been dragging along, quite a bit, and just would like to see it sort of closed. Is that...
My only question, is there a deadline that you'd need to know if we want more work done on the grant or using your time in another way? Is there a time you need to know that by?
No, it's at this point, it's an open invitation.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So it sounds like, Chetna, maybe everyone will review the materials that you share with us, and then we can maybe discuss at the next meeting what we'd want to do going forward.
Sounds fine by me, and you reach out to me anytime if you have any questions or need any more information. Be happy to help.
Okay.
And again, it's one of those things, I think, I hate the expression, but it was sort of the perfect storm of staffing changes and other circumstances that have put us in this position, and we'll try to make it right.
I appreciate you making the time to come and share with us and the situation, so appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. As you said, Dave is away, so in terms of the single-use plastic document, there hasn't been much progress on that, so we'll come back to that when Dave gets back to us on that. All right. I think...
well, I might mention that we've made a new connection in that regard. Clean plastic bags are now being collected in all our recycling rooms, and they go to the Lions Club.
Yeah.
All right. We know that.
We know that.
Okay.
But you don't know what they do with them.
Oh, yes. They're going to make them into, well, they aren't, but they will have them made into benches, city benches. Sounds incredible, but that's what I'm sure they can do it.
But the main aim is to just reduce plastic and not produce it in the first place.
What?
The main aim is to reduce plastic production in the first place and not...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
You've got to cut it off at the source.
Once plastic is here, it's here. It doesn't disappear, no matter how often you may recycle it. So anyway, that's another debate. Just a brief recap, we have Kristen Murphy and a couple of the other committee members. There's going to be an ALY festival at the moment, the date is May the 14th, 2022. And I have to raise my hand and apologize for not having been able to attend the meetings I've had, the sort of initial planning meetings that I've had on that at the moment, but I have inputted my sort of suggestions on what the festival may want to consider, and I think one of the biggest things, if we are going for trying to ban single-use plastic, is to be plastic-free, would be my biggest thing in terms of awareness raising and so on. So on a couple of things, one thing I would appreciate if somebody could volunteer to attend those meetings, those planning meetings that happen. I'm not sure whether they are in person or via Zoom. I'm not sure. But if somebody could volunteer, because at the moment there have been at times where I haven't been able to attend them, so and I really want this committee to be involved in the planning of that festival and make it as sustainable as possible. So appreciate if somebody could step forward.
How often they meet?
So far they've been 2, I think. So they haven't been that often at the moment, but they might I'll share what information there has.
Can we split responsibilities?
Sure. I'm happy to.
What time have the meetings been at?
They've been at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I could feasibly do 8 o'clock.
You could do visibly. Okay.
Depending what day of the week it is.
Yeah, okay.
I could, if we could, I could be one of the volunteers.
One of the volunteers, okay.
To help you, yeah.
Yeah, and if it's a different day, I could maybe make it, but
Yeah,
I think
I can't remember
a couple
what
of
it
them have been
was.
at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and I had other meetings to go to, so I wasn't able to. But
Yeah, no, I would.
I will keep that in mind.
I can help fill in too at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
That's, if others can't make it.
That would be appreciated. Okay, so on the back of that, Bob is on.
Madam Chair, excuse me, I was just looking through my notes. It looks like the last meeting was via Zoom.
Was his okay?
Yep,
All right.
if that helps.
So Bob reached out from Exeter TV saying, obviously, there is the opportunity to have film screenings, and so he's online, he's there, and he's just going to fill us in as to how we want to, whether we have suggestions for what films that we want to screen.
Is this?
Bob from Exeter TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. I can kind of fill you in a little bit on what they had discussed at the last meeting with regards to the film screening, because I think they had mentioned that your committee was interested in possibly helping out or kind of sponsoring that aspect of it. They're trying to find groups to handle each activity so it's more manageable. But I think the whole festival, I had initially thought it was going to be like this long day. I think it's going to kind of just be a morning to early afternoon kind of event. So it focused around the library and Founders Park there, kind of all one location. So they were initially thinking, wow, that stuff's going on. They can have some, movies going on inside. I had forwarded Chetna a few river-related films, like local ones, or some ones about alewife. Those are options. I don't know if you guys had kind of grander ideas for a more broader environmental, sustainable kind of idea film festival. I can say that in 2018, I believe, Exeter TV held a alewife film festival over at Phillips Exeter, and we had about 40 people come, and it was like a 3-hour evening event, and it went pretty well. So we did throw out the idea at the alewife festival planning meeting to maybe have, some members there during the morning for this thing, a shorter, more river-focused topics, and then possibly doing a separate event either later in the evening or on another day completely, but in partnership with this festival, kind of to do more broad ideas. So I was interested to hear what you guys had in mind.
Well, I don't have any suggestions for the festival, but I am curious as to know how the taking out of the dam has affected the alewife runs. Is it better for them? Does it get so low that it could be a problem?
I'm no wildlife expert, but after making the film about the removing of the dam and speaking with the Fish and Game, they now do the counts at Pickpocket instead of in downtown Exeter for the run, and the visible counts, they can't do actual numbers, but they estimate that tens of thousands were getting up where they.
So they're doing well with the new
they're doing better. So
Good.
there's a lot of other factors involved there. That's one of the films that we could show. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it. You can go to Exeter TV's YouTube page and search What We Have in Its Place. It's about the dam removal and that whole process. But there's open to see what you guys wanted for film ideas or stuff like that.
I think if we could tie in some that are obviously river, focused because of being the alewife festival, but tie them in and find some that are also relevant to sustainability issues and, what does it necessarily mean, whether it's the rise of water levels or how does that all tie in together? And I'm sure there's, with a little research, we can find some films that would be relevant to that.
Yeah, I think the
if I could just jump in again, I don't know, what I think was successful about the one we held in 2018 was that they were all short films. So I think there was like one film that was around 15 or 20 minutes, and most of them were around 10 minutes. Yeah. The film I made was 30 minutes. I know some of you guys were involved in that film festival over at the Exeter Inn, which was like an all-day event. I'm not sure that is maybe in your bandwidth or the other, the ALY Festival's bandwidth. So I would recommend finding some short films. And my background is wildlife filmmaking, so I have a connection with the university in England, and they produce every year like 10 to 15 short films about a variety of topics around the world, from sustainability to more like wildlife behavior stuff and some comedy kind of documentaries and all in between. And that's what we showed at the previous festival. And I can definitely, source a bunch of films. And if you guys wanted to help pick which films work and kind of curate a collection to kind of get whatever messages you're out there. This current year's cohort of master students did a bunch of river-related and water-related topics, from plastics to fish and dam removal to a bunch of other things. So there's a lot of really good films, and all these films are made in partnership with the BBC. So even though they're student films, they're very high level. So that's one avenue to look for films. I would stay away from, I know in the festival you guys, some of you did before, some of the films were ones that were like on PBS or, bigger films, and some of those are harder to get the rights to show those. So thinking small but good quality films.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Bob. I think I would really like to tie in with the situation of plastic pollution and microplastics in water, and how it affects marine life. So if you do have other suggestions, and then I'll share them with everyone here, and then we can maybe have a screening and decide on which ones to opt for. Do you know how many?
So I'm trying to remember, and also this goes back to the question I had earlier, is if you guys were just thinking of doing something during the day, which is, you'd probably have about an hour and a half while there's other events going on outside, so you may not get a lot of people to go. Or did you want to kind of break from the rest of the group and do something separate, but in relation to the festival that's going on in the morning? Because that will open up to have a lot more films and stuff shown. So I think the time of the festival they were planning was, it was going to be like a 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. event. Because the library, I think, closes at a certain time on a Saturday. Yeah. So unfortunately, it wouldn't open itself up to having a lot of people inside, because they probably want to be outside with all the fun stuff going on out there. So
can we set up a projector in the gazebo?
Outside?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't see why not.
I mean, COVID's one issue, but I'm also thinking that if a lot of these activities are outside, just continuously playing some of these 10 to 15 minutes in the background, people can walk by, watch a few minutes, and I love the idea of the 10 to 15 minutes.
You'd have to wait till like 8 o'clock at night. So the festival is going to end at 1 p.m. So all the other activities would be packed up, like if they were having food trucks or anything else.
Yeah.
You couldn't have them going on simultaneously?
It's not possible to see a projector in the daylight, so that's the issue there.
I was just curious about film festivals. Sorry about the noise. and watching movies. Like, I just don't think of going to a film festival at 9 in the morning. Do you have success with having them at that time of day, or would it be possible to have the film festival be like the next weekend in a different location at it, or like?
Yeah, that's my concern, because basically, I think it'd be good to have some of the Exeter specific or Alewife specific videos maybe going on inside, just so people wanted to take a break and step inside. But I don't think you're going to get a lot of people, because there's going to be a lot of activities planned outside. So possibly doing like the Alewife Film Festival later on. We were pretty successful. I think we started the event at 7 p.m. and it went till 10 p.m. Some of the people kind of said it went on a little too long, but that's similar to what SELP does with their, when they kind of bring the Wild and Scenic Film Festival to Portsmouth. It's like a 7 to 10 event with a little break in between. You could definitely make it shorter if you wanted to, but I think the venue would be the question then, because I'm not sure the library, when they're open later in the evening, so that might be something to work through. The town hall is a possible venue, but it's not as updated as the new library room. We did ours at Phillips Exeter Academy. With COVID, I'm not sure if we could get in there. So there is an inflatable screen, and I believe in July last year we did an outdoor film series, or Parks and Rec did, at the stadium at the high school. They kind of draped a huge screen off the back and did a drive-in movie. So I mean, that's a potential option, but it all is weather related, so lots to consider, lots of options.
Do we have any ideas of what activities will be going on outside?
Yeah, I can pull that up. So I think there's going to be either in the morning or just after some of those events, there's going to be a paddle on the river, probably from downtown, past the wastewater treatment plant and back. So people might be signing up for that stuff. There's going to be a bunch of tables outside for like information. So I think they thought of inviting various groups like the Waterkeeper or Mr. Fox, or kind of any of those organizations or vendors that have sustainability sort of things or river related topics to talk about. So they'll kind of have that stuff going on. There may be some stuff for kids, kind of a story walk or something like that, in like the kids section of the library, but also outside. They were going to try to do some presentation on fish out there. In the past, when the fish ladder was there, they would actually, show people the fish. They pick them up. I'm not sure if they can arrange that, because we don't know if the fish are going to be there this weekend or not, or the weekend of the festival. So they're kind of picking the date and hoping that they're going to be there. So I think they have a lot of different things. We even threw out the idea my employee might run a Alewife mascot costume contest or something. If people want to make a fish costume and try to become the mascot of the TV station or something. I think there's a lot of different ideas, and whoever from the committee wants to kind of hop on this festival planning committee, I can make sure Kristen shares there's a Google Doc with all the activities, and there's a lot of different things going on. Like they'll probably have some sort of food truck, but they were going to try and look into getting kind of brunch style food, because it is going to be in the morning and kind of ending at lunchtime. So, yeah.
All right. Food for thought, as they say.
I have one other question, just curiosity. I thought we had shad going up the river. Was I mistaken about that? I've seen large fish above the dam that had deposited their eggs and then come back and died before they went down over the dam. They were up there.
Yeah, so I think shad haven't, again, I'm not a wildlife biologist, but I'm pretty sure the shad haven't been there for a couple hundred years.
Well, then, what, is the alewife that big a fish? Because these were good.
Yeah, so we have two species of river herring, alewife and blueback. They come sort of around the same time, but in two different waves. They basically look exactly the same. And then there's lamprey, like that come up. But it's the alewives are pretty big. You can see them, popping out of the water, and they're pretty large. I thought they were very small, but they can be pretty decent size.
Not to learn.
I thought herring was smaller and narrow, but these fish were big fish.
So, thank you, Bob. So shall I leave it that Bob will share with us some videos, films, and then we can decide as to what we want to do as a committee?
That would be great.
Sure, I can prep a little list, and maybe a few of you could just meet with me, and we could virtually watch the trailers or something, or I can send them to you.
Yeah.
I think I saw one of them this year. The title is something like Seahorse Trying to Survive in the Ocean Full of Plastic. So maybe there's the film already that you would like. So I'll try and gather those and send them your way.
Thank you, Bob. And I'll share your details, Nina and Adam, and then hopefully we can get involved a lot more. Thank you, Bob. All right. Any other business? I just have a couple of things. I think we talked about Parks and Recs offering the bring your cleats outsized. Your child's grown out of cleats to bring them, and then so that another family can use them. So that hopefully is going to be in place. So Parks and Recs will share the publicity with that, and then we'll share it out on the website as well as through social media. But that is the leaflet's been agreed and everything else, so it just needs to be put in place. So the idea is that if your child has outgrown their cleats and they're still good, usable, then they can tie them together, put the size on them, and then place them in the bins at the Parks and Recs building, and then another family member, instead of going to buy new cleats, if the size are there for their child, they can take them, and there's no costs involved or anything. So it's just to keep.
Sorry, is that active now, or is there a date that will be active?
That should. It's all ready to go. So it will be happening.
Okay.
It will be happening as soon as Parks and Rec sends me an image of the bin and the leaflet in situ at the office, so that we can then share it. But it'll be imminent. All right. And the other question I had, probably for Nico, I know a couple of months ago we talked about when Swayze Park was going to, before it was opening, whether the potential of it being permanently closed to traffic, and looking at the situation of if it was going to be. Do we have any sort of information as to whether that's like, the process, or what the situation is with?
What exactly is the question?
The Swayze Park situation.
Yeah.
So
currently it's open to one-way traffic.
So is there a discussion or
yes,
conversation going on about it?
There's been an ongoing discussion between the trustees and the select board and public. We've had it on the agenda 2 or 3 times, and the discussion's still ongoing, looking at all the options. Any possible way to close it would have to go to town meeting first. That's the first obstacle. Mm-hmm. If it passed, then there are some other legal hoops to go through. But as it stands now, there's still an ongoing discussion as to what all of the possible options are. And then before it would go on the warrant, the select board would have to have a couple of public hearings. So that's where that stands now.
Okay. So is it likely to be at the March elections or unlikely?
It could very well be.
Okay. And if we had a discussion as a committee and had an opinion on the situation, would we share it with the select board via email, or what would?
Yeah, you can always, collectively as a committee or individually, you can always send emails to the select board with your position.
Okay.
And those are always put in the packet and shared. But ultimately, if anything is going to change, it would have to go to town meeting.
To town meeting. So I don't know if as a committee you wanted to have that discussion, and or if you had thoughts on the pros and cons of closing Swayze Park and the benefit that it would bring, knowing that during COVID it was closed, and the use of the park, and also the sort of sustainability aspect of green space, and a safe space, I guess.
Do we know the traffic usage?
So I was going to say, obviously it was closed, the select board closed it during the emergency order to promote, and remember, this was done back in April 2020 when everything was locked down, and it was done to promote wellness, it was to promote social distancing and exercise. And it was overwhelmingly popular, and there are a lot of good things about it, but just keep in mind, and this is something that I didn't really think about at first, but obviously getting emails both on either side, by closing it completely, it really denies inclusivity to those that cannot get into the parkway other than to drive in and park. And overwhelmingly, there were more folks that rely on that than I originally knew. So,
Also, the farmer's market.
That was made an exception, I think.
the farmer's market.
They wouldn't be able to have the farmer's market.
No, they've always had the farmer's market.
There would
Well,
be
I
an
mean, if you
exception.
closed it to traffic, you
Yeah.
couldn't have the farmer's market.
I'm sure we could find a way. But anyway, so that's something to consider. And I know in speaking with folks who initially were in favor of closing it completely, hearing about people that aren't able. So I think that's one of the ongoing discussions is there a way to keep it closed mostly to traffic? Is there a way to allow folks on one end or the other to maybe drive in and maybe have a roundabout? Is that possible from, an infrastructure standpoint? Those are all the things that we're exploring. So the answer to your question is, it's been an ongoing conversation because you really have to look at all options. And when I say look at all options, it's not taking one position or another, but seeing first of all, from an infrastructure standpoint, what's viable, what can be done. And then also looking at what's best for the community inclusively. And then ultimately, drafting a warrant article and putting it to town meeting.
Yeah, I taking the inclusivity of disabled people who want to use the parkway, and probably at the moment the lack of disabled parking close to the entrances of the park.
So to answer, but Bev brought up a point worth addressing. If it were closed completely, or even if it was closed partially, it still will be a roadway. So, emergency vehicles obviously need to be able to get down there. If you have a farmer's market, obviously that would need to be able to get down there. There are organizations that, permit the parkway for a day to have festivals and such. That would continue. So, the actual pavement stays. The road stays and access, because obviously emergency vehicles, need to get through, it needs to be plowed and all of that, so, the actual pavement would remain regardless of what happened.
I was saying, if for disabled parking, there is, I guess, not a study, but someone needs to sort of say, is there space at the two ends to have a few of those in place?
I mean, it is the only green space in downtown Exeter, and that to have it as a parkway is just kind of an odd, like the need for exercise and being outdoors and stuff doesn't, COVID made us all more conscious of that need, whether it came to outdoor dining or whatever, but it doesn't mean that it needs to end necessarily. I think there are ways, and I think it is worth a discussion between our group to come up with something that we would propose and
you also, remember too that the land and the parkway were donated, and they were donated in a trust. Okay, so there's a trust outlining what the property is to be used for. So that's why it would have to go. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. In an ideal world, if it were, property that the town but it's different. This was land that was donated in the 1920s by Ambrose Swayze.
Right.
And there is a trust, and there are ways, again, going to town meeting and other such ways to bring it into the 21st century. But you do need to go through those logistic steps because there is a trust.
Right.
It was donated for the well-being and for the use of
right.
You can actually go on the Exeter website, and I would encourage everybody to actually read the trust. It's not that long.
Before
it's an area that we all love, so it's worth looking at.
Yeah. And that was before, the 1920s when, there were vehicles, but it wasn't like, not everybody had, a vehicle in their driveway.
All right, so I think the best thing is if we individually, if we have a thought about the situation, and then if you had any comments on that, email them to me, and then we can then discuss it and be involved in part of the information.
Yes, well, they drop them. Thank you.
Any other?
Yes, I'd like to report, because I think you might have comments, or at least it's good to spread the news on sustainability initiatives at Riverwood. In the matter of solar panels, we've long had a large solar panel at two of the campuses that supports the pool and the what they call the machine room. Now they're putting a new large one up over an addition that has been is in the process of going up at the third campus, Ridge, and it's over the new administration building. So a third large solar panel. And we need a lot more of it. That's progress. In the matter of car charging posts, the plans are getting pretty firm that they will be putting in 2 posts at the end of each parking area as a beginning. We had an incident where a guest came and had to come down to the inn to plug in his electric vehicle. So we at least are taking care of that. And that, of course, has to go further as well, but it's a beginning. And the other thing was that very, very recently, just a week or two ago, we were contacted by Piper Shores, another CCRC, which happens to be up in Maine, and they were organizing a communications network between CCRCs on sustainability initiatives, and they are including Rivermead and Peterborough and Kendall and Hanover, and a couple of others that I wasn't familiar with, but that could grow too. They could include others. And already, Rivermead has reported something that is of great interest to us. a company is installing free solar panels on their cottages.
Okay.
Oh boy, there's a thought, So this is going to be fruitful, I think, and it's always good to spread the word of what's going on.
Thank you, Bev. Anyone else? Adam?
Nope, all set, thanks.
Kristen? Nina?
Sorry, I had to bring it up so I could unmute myself. No, my only thought is I did send over information about signing up for renewable energy for customer choice in New Hampshire. Did that get posted or not?
No. Where did
Okay.
did you send it to Dave?
No, I think I sent it to Nina, maybe?
No, it
It
didn't.
was like 2 months ago. Sorry. Yeah,
You emailed it to me. Send
Maybe
it to
I
me.
sent it to Chris?
I don't know. Chris isn't here.
Yeah, I know I sent it to a communications committee type person. I can't remember who's Nina or Chris.
Yes, you might have sent it to my old email.
Oh, okay.
But is that, is it still something that's active
Yeah.
and where we can still,
Yep. Yeah, it is. Could you just email me?
Yeah.
And I'll respond back to you with it. And that way, have you not been getting the meeting minutes? Because maybe I haven't been getting those to you then.
the only ones I've seen, are later
Yeah.
on after, because I usually get Chetna's emails, but I didn't, I will
Okay.
email you right with my new email.
Awesome. Okay, and then I will
And then we
send,
could, and then I will get that.
though it sounds like there's potentially community choice aggregation moving forward for the town of Exeter as well. So it looks like there might be other options as well. So lots of good options. And I'd also reached out again to I can't remember the person that I reached out to the town about battery recycling. I haven't heard back, so I'll try again.
All right. And the document I shared with the project ideas, I think we can still discuss those and land somewhere. So I think what I'll also do is share that with Tim and see Rockingham Planning Commission, see if there's something that we can do with that as well. So, and I think the other thing I would like the committee to think about and decide on, I guess, is also what Bob said in terms of the fact that, if we wanted to do like a proper film festival, I think in the past we have talked about going in partnership with film festivals that are already happening in the area. So, we've got CELT that does it in Portsmouth, and there's a film festival that happens in Kittery. And again, I think sort of working together with other organisations who've also got a bigger sort of contact pool of people coming to those festivals. And then the committee being involved and being active in those film festivals, I think would benefit as well. So again, obviously depending on COVID situations and so on, again, thinking on how we would want to do that kind of outreach and work with another organisation or do another one specifically in Exeter. Like Bob said, I was involved in the one that took place at the Exeter Inn a couple of years ago, and it was successful, but there were long films and we had panel discussions and so on. But there's other ways of making them engaging and informational and useful, and get people to act on things that they might suddenly sort of spark an interest and say, okay, we need to do something sooner than later. So thoughts on that would be welcome as well. All right, anything else to comment, report on? No? 7:57, adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second that.
All right, thank you. Next meeting is in January the 4th. Unfortunately, I have a commitment on that day, so I won't be able to chair that meeting. I'll reach out to Chris as he is the vice chair to see if he's able to chair it. But, all right. Well, happy holidays, everyone, and
the same to you.
To you.
see you in 2022.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.